Mamile, dame la moustache en la camucha. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki taca, tiki. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Siento patamilo, mira taca, tiki tunetica. Mamile, dame la moustache en la camucha.
What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today, y'all, I'm going to talk about my takeaways from the preseason game. I will say this, don't get too excited too early. It was just the preseason. I made some observations that is stuff that the coaching staff and everybody probably needs to work on more, just so they can get an idea of what's really happening with this team. And so everybody can also gauge what we're going to get with this upcoming season. Maybe not necessarily the upcoming season, but some things we need to pay close attention to as we go into the season, because there's a lot of stuff that, it's not a lot of stuff, but there's stuff that I was kind of like thrown off by, and there was some stuff that I was like, okay, this makes sense. So let's start with number one. My first observation from this game is the synchronicity of Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury. Now, we haven't seen this level of synchronicity with offensive coordinator and quarterback since maybe Kirk and Sean McVay, and to probably just a small little piece, Kevin O'Connell and Dwayne Haskins. But we see an offensive coordinator who's completely comfortable with his quarterback making plays, calling audibles, and things of that such nature. The play to Dyami Brown was a very odd play. And the reason why I say that is, now, again, I don't know. I'm not saying that I know, but I'm not really certain. But for some reason, when Dyami Brown caught the pass, everybody seemed super excited about it, and it made me go back and replay the play over a couple times. And I kept looking back at it, and it looks like that the play wasn't supposed to go to Dyami Brown. Now, I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. But it really doesn't look like the play was supposed to go to Dyami Brown. There was a receiver out on the route, and he's looking back, and he's looking surprised because at the point that he's looking back, Jayden has already thrown the ball, and he's looking not in his direction. So again, I could be wrong, but it seems like Jayden has some freedom in this offense, and that Cliff Kingsbury has made it possible for him to have a level of freedom in the offense. And it really does seem like that he has some type of he has the ability to feel comfortable with certain plays that he's running. So again, the synchronicity between Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, and the fact that Cliff Kingsbury is comfortable with Jayden Daniels actually running his offense and not feeling like, he can't show him how to run the offense, or he can't trust him to run the offense, or he has to call a lot of plays from the sideline. It also seems that Jayden does have a grasp on blocking schemes and route concepts and everything. So I think that this offense probably was similar to what he ran at LSU. So again, just one of those things that observation. I can tell that there's some type of synchronicity there between Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury. So that was a really good observation to notice. My next observation was one that again came in the first quarter. Came during the first half. Clearly, this team has a gluttony at guard, because what we saw Mason Brooks and Chris Paul. Mason Brooks, I think, was on the left side, and Chris Paul was on the right side. We saw them play tackle, which is kind of strange because Chris Paul hasn't played tackle in a while. Well, he was a tackle at Tulsa, but he hasn't played tackle in a while. And Mason Brooks, I think he was a tackle who was converted to guard in college. But even with that, because I think he came out of Nebraska, if I can remember, Nebraska or Wisconsin. But the thing about that was that to see them two playing tackle means that they have a wealth of guys who can play tackle. I mean, who can play guard, and not enough guys who can play tackle. So to see Chris Paul and Mason Brooks playing tackle, that actually threw me for a surprise. I didn't think that they would do something like that. But this also lets you know that if Mason Brooks and Chris Paul don't show that they can play tackle, they may not make the team. And that is something that is huge. Now, Mason Brooks didn't play that bad. Chris Paul, he didn't play bad, but he didn't play well. But again, we're going to see when these preseason games ramp up, if that's the case, because from what I'm seeing right now, for them both to be playing tackle at this point, that really means that they have a gluttony at guard, and they have to show that they can play something more than just guard on this team. So that was quite a surprising observation. Next, Marcus Mariota. That, even though he only had one series, it was pretty bizarre for that series, because the reason why it was bizarre was because I think if I can remember, I think the very first play was a sack. And then they went 3 and out. So it was one of those things where he just doesn't look like he's qualified to be the backup here. Jake Driscoll was in the game for a long time. Sam Hartman, who everybody knows, I did not like Sam Hartman coming out of Notre Dame. He was a better quarterback when he was at Wake Forest, but coming out of Notre Dame, I did not like Sam Hartwell. I felt that he was just a guy, but a guy who was getting into the NFL solely for his looks and hoped that he would become like the new Tom Brady or something like that. But he didn't look bad. Sam Hartman didn't look bad. And I was actually impressed that the offense seemed to be more in sync and was able to flow better with Jeff Driscoll and Sam Hartman than it was with Marcus Mariota. And we've seen this story before, and most people don't want to sit up here and agree with this, but we saw this same story with Sam Howell. You know, if a guy doesn't seem like he's really in sync with the offense that well, or for some reason the offense seems to taper off or not seem as strong once the starter goes out, then that's a problem. And to me, I understand that they paid Marcus Mariota a lot of money, but you got to commend certain coaches that are like, look, it's not working out, and you know, we understand we spent the money, but it's not working out. A la Pete Carroll in Seattle, when he chose Russell Wilson over the freshly signed Matt Flynn. He just felt that Russell Wilson was a better quarterback than Matt Flynn, and they had just paid Matt Flynn all this money. So again, does Dan Quinn or does Adam Peters have the chops to say, you know what, Marcus, it's not working, you don't fit the offense, so we're going to go ahead and let you go? We'll see what happens in the next couple games, but to me, he doesn't seem in sync with this offense at all. That's my observation. He doesn't seem in sync with the offense. The kickoff. For y'all who don't watch the XFL and the UFL, I watch it. The thing about the kickoff is the way to maximize the kickoff is by putting a speed guy back there. The DC Defenders, which is the UFL team for DC, the way that they were able to get to turn the field pretty quickly was because they had a guy, Pooka Williams, back there who was a very speedy guy. And what would happen is that there would be times where he would get up the field and all he had to do was get past the first wave of guys, and it would turn into a big game. So what Washington needs to do, what the coaching staff needs to do, especially the special team coaching staff, they need to get a speed guy back there, a guy who's able to get out there and actually make something happen. I saw OZ. I'm gonna just call him OZ. He was on punt returns, but they should put him back there and kickoffs as well, because he does have the speed. If you don't want to use him, use Michael Wiley or use Cash Allen. Use somebody that has some real speed that can get through that first line, that gets up the field, break through the first line, and actually does something. It's so crazy that I'm about to say this, but Antonio Gibson would have been perfect for this. This would have been perfect for Antonio Gibson, because he has a history of kick returns, but he was fast enough to get up the field and make this play. But the way you got to deal with this kick return is speed. You have to have a guy who's fast back there that can get past the first wave, and then at that point, people are just trying to chase him down. So again, you got to have a speed guy back there. Byron Pringle is not the guy. So you got to have a speed guy back there. My next observation, the former Cowboys look comfortable. And it shouldn't be a surprise that they do, but they look really, really comfortable in this defense. And you can tell that because they already played in it, they already are familiar with what they need to do, where they need to go, what type of stunts they need to do, and everything like that, because you see it. You see them actually coming through. So again, that was something that I'm not surprised at, but it was one of the things that was really, really good to see, that you did see that the guys who played in the system before were very comfortable in the system. So that was another observation. This is a big one. Michael Wiley versus Chris Rodriguez. Again, going back to the kickoff thing, Michael Wiley, it seems like there's a chance that Michael Wiley is a better running back for this system than Chris Rodriguez is. There was a lot of times in the game that you just saw Chris Rodriguez just completely stopped. Now, again, everybody knows that they're running vanilla offenses, but at the same time, the one thing you know about the preseason is that when it comes to the running game, the running games normally dominate the preseason. And running backs who are really good normally look very good in the preseason. And the fact that Chris Rodriguez couldn't really break tackles and didn't really seem very strong, that concerns me a bit, because he doesn't seem like, again, he seems like a guy that might not fit this offense. Michael Wiley, he has the speed. He looked like he gets up the hole pretty quickly. He catches out the backfield. But one of the big things about that is that you can also use him on the kick return if they wanted to do that. But at this point right now, I like Michael Wiley more than I like Chris Rodriguez at this point. So that was another observation. Last but not least, my last observation for this game is, and these are all key observations and my observations that I feel were important to the game. The last one is Jamin Davis still being in the game in the fourth quarter. I think he was still in the game around the 2-minute mark or even less. That never bodes well for guys, to see them still playing into the fourth quarter. Even for guys changing positions or learning a different position, to see them that deep in the game, that late in the game, is actually quite shocking and quite surprising, and it doesn't bode well for Jamin Davis. Now, I do remember saying this on draft day, that the Jordan McGee pick, I said that, I didn't like the pick but I understood the pick because I felt it was it was to basically be a Jamin Davis type of replacement pick. And from what it seems like to me, it may be just that. Like, I think Jamin Davis' time in Washington might be up because, again, to see him that late in the game was actually shocking. See him that late, I mean, you talking about he played in the first half and then he was still in the game all the way deep late into the fourth quarter. So, again, we never see that in preseason, especially the first game of the season. So the fact that he was that far in the game and he played that late in the game, that doesn't bode well for him. So, yeah, so those are my observations and takeaway from preseason game 1. Y'all tell me what y'all think. What do y'all think of my observations? How many of y'all agree with my observations? And on top of that, tell me, comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you really do think about what's going to happen this year. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable, or are you on the side of me where I'm just observing things for right now until we really see what's going on? Because I will be releasing my scheduled prediction video after the last game of the preseason. So be on the lookout for that. But again, y'all tell me what y'all think. Other than that, this has been your man John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.